And then, of course, Frogger Ancient Shadow was also them.
Ancient Shadow? What kind of...
Yeah.
Is that Frogger trying to be serious?
Yeah, the dark and gritty turn that Frogger made. It's just Frog now. It's not Frogger anymore. I had a dream last night.
Whoa, okay.
So
excited for your dream.
What happens with our podcast is that it seems, at least the history thus far, is that every 100 episodes we will change seasons. So once we hit 101, that is now season 2 of Podtimism. So we're currently in season 2. I had a dream that we proposed that 150 is actually the beginning of season 3.
Whoa.
I don't know if that's just sort of a spiritual invitation that like the energy has changed now.
Is that yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it kind of goes with our no rules sort of with this podcast.
Of course, this podcast being Video Game Podtimism, the Optimist video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming. My name is Chase.
My name is David.
Yeah, it does kind of seem to fit with the vibe that like we're just getting to ever smaller increments of seasons.
The first 100, those are the next 50 were as good as those first 100. So we're improving. We're improving by half.
By episode 200, we'll be approaching infinity as far as quality goes.
we are improving infinitely fast now.
Yeah.
Exponential growth of improvement.
Anyway, something to consider and sit on and just sort of see if like energy wise, if we're now in season 3. I don't know the answer.
That's a long prologue.
Yeah, that's just us setting the stage.
Season 2, we're almost there.
We've made a lot of progress.
I can't see my house from here.
Season 3 is Come One, Come All.
Oh, we're letting everybody in. That's great.
That'll make sense in like a couple of weeks here.
Ooh, yeah, okay.
Ooh.
I see your illusion there.
Laying a slight amount of groundwork for a reference that a few people will understand eventually.
This is called foreshadowing for everybody who doesn't understand.
Have you been playing video games, David?
Yes, I have.
I would love to hear about them, if you would be so kind.
Yeah, I'm still making my way through Tears of the Kingdom, Legend of Zelda.
Have you not beat it yet?
I have not. I got sidetracked by other things this past week a little bit.
I was like so convinced you were going to beat it like after we hung up the call last time.
I mean, I'm close. Close, but I started going deep into Hyrule Castle, the underbelly of Hyrule Castle, and I realized I was not prepared. I was not prepared for these white level monsters and these Lionels.
Yeah.
I don't fight Lionels. I run away from Lionels. Whenever I see a Lionel, I go, I'm going to go in the opposite direction of you and up this mountain because I do not want to fight you.
Yeah, that's understandable.
That's the way I play Zelda. So I got to the part where I'm fighting the Gloom Hands and Gloom Ganon on the bottom. And that's classic. Just like when I did the Spirit Temple boss, I had like 3 hearts left because I just got gloomed. Same thing. I had like 4 hearts when I got there. Everything else was gloomed. And it was just like if Gloom Ganon sneezed on me, it was over. So I've gone back and I'm trying to grind some shrines to get more hearts right now.
Sure.
And I'm just seeing if I can find how to upgrade my armor. I know where a lot of those fairies are. I just don't know where this wandering troop is. So
you should look it up.
Is it really helpful?
Yes. Being able to upgrade your armor is exceptionally helpful. And it's like, it's kind of I wouldn't say convoluted, but like there is a specific order with which you have to do them.
Okay.
And so it's kind of challenging to know like which one first or like what's the trigger to start all this.
Yeah.
I'm sure you will be able to do it after that. But just kind of the kickoff, I feel like, is something that at least I needed help with.
I figure I just need to hop on Genuine and start traveling the roads.
Yeah,
I'm an off-roader, and I figure these troops, this musical troupe is going to be found on the roads somewhere. I think I took Lord of the Rings too seriously as a child, and I was like, gotta stay off the roads. Gotta stay off the roads.
That's where the ring wraiths be.
That's where the ring wraiths are, which is me riding Genuine.
Yeah. I forgot that that's the name of your horse. I thought you were literally just saying that you put on pony whenever you wander around.
I mean, I am humming it when I am riding Genuine around Hyrule.
Yeah, sure.
It's pretty
Makes
good.
Sense.
But yeah, that underneath Hyrule Castle just kicked my ass. So just trying to get a little stronger in Zelda, and then I will be back to beat big old dwarf and put this one to bed finally.
Sure.
But great game. no qualms with it. I've just been going around. I beat up all those monsters at Lorellan Beach. That was a fun little bit.
Yeah.
Show them who's boss, because I tried to beat them before and they just once again got my ass handed. I'm like, now I'm ready. I know how to fuse monster parts to weapons now. I'm not just fusing weapons to weapons, making a bone arm.
You're not making turbo sword.
Yes, exactly. I'm not making long sword. I'm making strong swingy sword. So that's good. It's a fun game. Still great.
Yeah.
I've been playing Switch Sports Golf.
Whoa. That's a swerve. Okay.
Yeah, I've been playing it with Mallory. We've been playing it competitively against each other. But yeah, they released it. Yeah, it wasn't there when it first launched. And if you have, I think, the Nintendo expansion pass or whatever it's called, you just get it for free once it. Okay. And they'll do a couple others, I think. I forget what the other two are, or one is that they're going to do. But the golf is fun. I enjoy this golf. Yeah. It's definitely, you definitely have to be pretty precise, and you really have to swing it like it's a golf club. You really have to LARP golfing when you're playing this. Sure. Because if you bring the controller too close to you or too far away, it knows. And if you rotate your wrist while you're doing your swing, it'll slice it. So you really have to be like, okay, I'm holding a golf club, and then swing it behind you and swing it over your shoulder like there is a large thing in front of you that you're holding, a large pole, stick, whatever you want to call it. Because if you just try to half-ass it, it just slices you so hard. Oh, wow. So it's pretty fun. I thought that was an impressive amount of fine-tuning for their motion sensing technology, I guess. Yeah, I was kind of impressed by that. I was like, wow, okay, this is the first time I've really actually had to pretend like, oh yeah, this is a golf club. I have to swing it like a golf club. Does it still make it like a fun experience? Because I feel like the closer you get to like golf simulation, that would be kind of frustrating. I mean, it's that's kind of where it stops being a simulation. It's more adding to the fantasy element of it, as opposed to making it feel like, oh, I have to be Tiger Woods now. Yeah. Because like I've been to Top Golf. I'm not a golfer. I can't hit a fucking golf ball for my life. I was swinging club out there, going yard. It was great. So it's definitely not a sim. Mm-hmm. But if you enjoy golf games where you have to think about where the wind's blowing, have to read the green, have to do all that kind of stuff, it just adds like one extra element of immersion to it, which is pretty fun and which I enjoyed. That's cool. No, it's really great. So yeah, we've just been doing like little 3-hole rounds of that every now and then. Yeah. And it's just fun to pop in, pop out. It's great. It's a great little shit talk fest. It's good. I'll have to check it out. I forgot that they were even doing this or that it had come out. So I want to give it a look. I had forgotten as well. And then it's just all of a sudden started downloading something for Switch Sports. And I'm like, oh, okay, new game. Yeah. I liked the golfing in the original Wii Sports. And so I would be interested to do this. And I feel like there's been kind of a glut of golfing games. Like I liked the last Mario Golf, but I would be hard pressed to say that was one of the better Mario golfing games. Sure. I guess like Everybody's Golf was pretty good, but still, like I feel like they're like all of these have like one or two caveats with them, and I wish that there was just like, this is the arcade golf game right now. Yeah, bring back. we need like PGA Street or something. I would play PGA Street. That would be amazing. That would be pretty fun. You have to like hit it into a sewer drain. Yeah, you're using like a 2x4 to play golf. That's actually kind of a fun idea for a game. But they definitely need a very fun couch co-op multiplayer arcade golfing game, or like a really deep, good arcade golfing RPG like Golf Story. I agree with you. I wish Sports Story was a little better than it was, but I feel you. Yeah, because golfing games are such a specific genre that if I have the hankering for a golfing game, there's nothing that's going to itch that scratch except a golfing game. And I can't do like the big Tiger Woods PGA Tour ones. They're too much golf for me. It's a lot. Yeah, it's heavy golf. Heavy on the golf. I'm trying to do more like an interesting kind of geometry problem as opposed to be Tiger Woods. Yeah, that comes with a lot of baggage that I don't need in my life. I digress. Golf. I want more arcade golf games. Yeah, me too. We have declared it here. Also been playing some Mario Party this week with Mal. Love to see back in it. How is the quality of your relationship right now? Good. She won. Okay. Love to see it. She won. So long as one of us wins and it's not the computer, we're pretty happy. Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah. Because that's usually not the experience that you and I have. We have a very different relationship. Jeez. Yeah. I'm discovering that now. I see Donkey Kong in there and all I see is red. I see is red. It's time to go hard in the paint, as they say. Yeah. But no, we have somewhat of a gentleman's agreement in this game.
Yeah.
That we only steal coins and stars from the computers. And I think that's healthy for our relationship.
Yeah, that's a much better way to do it.
Like if we fuck the other person over, it's usually by accident or by chance, by happenstance.
It's not like the scrap match that we all get into where there are no rules.
Yes. Yeah. So that is how we play Mario Party, which is great.
Yeah.
But going back to that, there was a moment where Mallory kind of accidentally spelled my doom in this game we played.
No. Yeah.
Because we were playing Spaceland. And you know how they have that big laser?
Yeah. The big laser that like fires through the middle of the Mario Party course.
Yeah. So Mallory was trying to make her way to the star, and the star was on the bottom portion of the map. But she saw that she was going to hit one of those event spaces that makes the cars come and like push you all the way back, like a bunch of spaces. And she's like, I don't want to hit that. And then she takes a turn and then does the last go over the middle portion to make the counter go down to 0. And then I'm meanwhile right in the pathway 2 spaces away from the star. And I lost 78 coins.
It takes all of your coins.
All of your coins. It was, oh my God. It was my red wedding. It was, I was just like, this is it for me. I'm scrapping from here on out. But it was all okay in the end because she's the one who won and it wasn't the computer. So that's another one for humanity. Take that, ChatGPT.
Yeah, got him.
More
on that in a second.
Although I would be terrified to play ChatGPT in a game of Mario Party. I bet it would.
I think they would totally blow it, David.
They would blow it?
I think they would not be very good at Mario Party.
I don't know, man. They have perfect ability to do those mini games.
That I believe in, but I feel like there's just like a certain amount of strategy that I have yet to see come out of those things.
From ChatGPT?
Yeah, just like AI models. If it was like a specific Chat GMP, then I would believe it. If it was like, yeah, we're doing Mario Party, that's our thing. But like just some fucking AI model, no thanks, dude. It's gonna be like giving you the history of Mario Party before it's making a move.
It's going to analyze every move of Mario Party ever done on Twitch. Anyways,
probably do that. Yeah,
Mario Party is great game.
Yeah, it is.
Superstars,
it's fun,
right? Is that the one that I'm playing?
I think so. The most recent like kind of re-release of some of the
it's like
older
it's all the
maps.
old games and maps.
Yeah,
it needs more maps. Why are there only 5 maps?
I know it's sort of a bummer. Like that was the case with the one that came out just before this as well. That like the number of maps was kind of lacking.
Why?
I get that. Like,
there's so many maps.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like I understand it more when you're making new ones and trying to come up with like novel stuff or at least something that isn't broken. But they really do you could just pull from any of them. Like there's a lot of Mario Party games that you could grab from.
I need like 10 more maps.
And I feel like that's something I would pay for too if they were like, hey, we're putting out the Mario Party DLC. I'm like, all right, like you worked on this, so might as well like pay for some labor. But it does feel kind of lacking in the amount that's in there.
Yeah, still a great game. Doesn't take away my enjoyment of it when I'm playing it. But just a little bit more variety would be nice. And finally, Chase.
Yeah.
I've also been playing Horizon Forbidden West.
Whoa, another swerving. This is the new Horizon game.
This is the new Horizon game.
Out of curiosity, I don't think I know this. What did you like Zero Dawn?
I did like Zero Dawn. It was for a long time, those type of games, those like big Ubisoft style open world games, I just got turned off by because of just the bloat that I felt was going on in them. Yeah. And then this one, despite the original for Horizon Zero Dawn, despite still having quite a bit of bloat in there, didn't take it to the excessive degree that I thought like some of the more recent like Assassin's Creed games did, and had a much more interesting world and story that made it much more palatable to me to not necessarily perseverate on the things that were like the side missions and the extra stuff, because I just wanted to see like where the story was going, because I thought it was just so interesting and unique the first time I went through it. I really enjoyed that story. I thought it was great. It was really cool. I felt a very similar way that it, like the novelty of the game really, or the story I should say, really like kept me going through pretty much the whole thing of like, I really don't know what's happening here. Yeah. And I'm very curious about what's happening here. Exactly. That's what I was going to say. That's the curiosity component of the game, was the story. Whereas, you know, the world is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Like super lush. But definitely much more of that kind of maximalist design style for these open world games than, say, a Zelda, Breath of the Wild, or Tears of the Kingdom. So yeah, I got this one back during Christmas and just had never like popped it in for one reason or another. I think I got sidetracked by all the Dark Souls games I was playing.
Yeah.
Really went dark there for a bit. But yeah, now I decided it was time to crack into this one. And I'm having a good time so far. They are definitely still a very maximalist game, like especially in the visuals. There is so much going on the screen at any one time that it's kind of shocking coming from Tears of the Kingdom to this. Because I just don't know sometimes what to be focusing on. And the game is a lot of greens and reds, which is also particularly difficult for me. So I just find myself, I have to put my glasses on and I have to be like, what's going on? But besides that, it's very well made game, I think. I'm interested to see where this story goes. I don't know if it has quite the same immediate pull into the game world as the first one did, where it was just so much mystery and interesting mystery, like who is this kid? Who is this guy? What's going on? Why is the world like this? A lot of the big answers are, or a lot of the big questions are answered in the first game, which is, I think, part of why the first game is so good. Yeah,
I agree.
But also that puts them in a tricky spot for the sequel, because then it's like, okay, I have this established character in this established world. And then you're trying to build up to, I'm hoping, like another interesting story so far. But, in the meantime, you just kind of have this game design philosophy that's been tried and true for a long time, but isn't necessarily like what I'm looking for at any certain given time. Like it's still good. It's still enjoyable. It's not like things are broken or busted or that's unfun. It's just not like, especially, coming from Tears of the Kingdom, it's just not this step forward that I would hope for. But I haven't gotten the glider yet, so who knows? Maybe the glider is the big change in this game. And I'm still pretty early, so it's hard to really come down one way or another. But those are kind of the early returns so far in the game.
Yeah, sure.
Very beautiful maximalist style. And then just a pretty straight down the line open world game. But the action's still fun. I still really love the bow. Bow is always good to have.
They definitely nail the bow in that one, which is critical. Like it feels good to shoot it. Which is very helpful.
Yeah, the haptic feedback on the control on the triggers really shines with the bow in this game. So feels good. And I do also really appreciate how quick it is to craft and gather ingredients in this game.
It's very nice.
Because that is, I think, one of the more tedious things in these sort of games. Part of me is just like, just put it in my inventory. I want all of it. Just put it all in there. I never say, don't give me this or that when I'm searching a corpse or a dead dinosaur body. So I appreciate that they make it a little less onerous in this game.
I'm sort of the opinion that like if it's not like really a part of the game, like it's probably not totally necessary to be there. And I feel like crafting is one of those things that's like it's been taken as an assumption that it needs to be included in these bigger open world games, and I understand why. Like if you're making something where what's the word I'm looking for? Immersion is a big part of the world, and like it makes sense that like you should be able to pick up and interact with that world, but it's pretty rare that is the effect rather than just sort of like stress. Is usually the effect on me of like, whew, another thing I gotta manage. And again, I don't think it's entirely bad because there are moments where it's cool, but I think like personally for my like experience in games, I think I kind of just prefer them to gate power-ups or upgrades to like story beats or completion of side missions or something, like rather than kind of delving into these like not currencies but like resources that you have to manage at that point. I would kind of just prefer them to be like, okay, you got a bigger bag because you did a side quest for this person. And like I like a lot of the side quests in that game. Like they're all like insanely well like facial captured.
The facial animations are insane in this game. That's true.
And so like pretty much anytime there's a side quest, I was like, I at least got to go meet this person to see like what they look like, because it's all pretty nuts.
Exactly. It's like you're meeting their voice actor essentially.
Exactly. It can be uncanny sometimes, but if my brain sort of lets go there, it is kind of nice to just be like, wow, that's a real person that I just met.
And I mean, it's interesting you touch on crafting, because that's also another thing. It's hard not to. I know it's a comparison is the death of joy, right? But comparing this to Tears of the Kingdom,
it's
like,
hard.
The way that they have done a crafting system in Tears of the Kingdom is so simple and elegant and brilliant with the fuse. Like, oh my God. Once I realized like, oh, this is their crafting in this. Like, whoa, like it takes all of the stress and anxiety away from crafting and makes it this kind of like fun, joyous experiment where you're just like, oh, what can I make with these two things combined together? Because they keep it simple, and they keep it entertaining, right? And immediately knowable, like was this successful?
Yeah, they also base the economy of resources around abundance rather than scarcity.
Exactly, right? You're never really hurting for something to attach to my weapon to make it stronger. I might not have like the best like monsters that I've just killed, right?
Yeah.
I'll save those ones for something really good and durable, but there's always something I can attach onto the end of my stick.
Yeah. And like you pick up food so fast, you pick up like resources so quickly. You usually have just tons of stuff in a way where like, again, I feel like the normal model with Horizon is like, or any of those games really, I don't mean to like call that one out specifically, is like they'll give you about 100 resources of one thing, and then there's like 5 resources that are pretty rare that you need to go and like hunt out.
Yeah.
Whereas like, with Tears of the Kingdom, it is, here's an abundance of stuff, and we want you to experiment rather than like, here's a checklist. Yeah.
It's like if you spend enough time in one area, you kind of get pretty much everything that area offers. And if you need more of it, you just go back there because you remember like, oh, that's where I got all the ice fruit. Oh, that's where I got all the hydro melons. And they just do it so well. And like also the cooking, they just know how to make it a easy, pleasant experience as opposed to waiting through all these screens to get through to like maybe make something and I don't understand what's going on, what icon represents what. And not to say that the crafting in Horizon is what I'm talking about right now. I'm just crafting in general. I think the one in Horizon is actually fairly streamlined for this type of game, but it's just something else that when you look back on playing these Zelda games, you're like, wow, they really just took crafting down to its skeleton and was like, how can we change this to make it fun and different, make it feel new again, right? Because when crafting first came on the scene, it was like, oh my god, crafting, this is the future, man.
Yeah,
this is great. And then it just became bogged down. But they went back to the drawing board and they just made something fresh, old Papa Nintendo. So yeah, but I'm excited to play more Horizon. I'm excited to fight a big old dinosaur. That's always the most fun I had in Horizon, was like when a dinosaur just like came out of nowhere. I think one of those big pterodactyl things just attacked me from the sky while I was riding around one of those horse deer things. It's so good. Emergent gameplay is pretty good in those Horizon games.
Every now and then the game gets a little Shadow of the Colossus, which I really like.
It's just out of nowhere. It's like I was just hunting and scrounging for things, and then all of a sudden I'm climbing on top of this beast to take it down.
I enjoyed my time with it. I do think, to your concern about like the story not quite pulling you along, I think eventually there is a thing that I got to where I was like, okay, that's new and different and is like enough of a riff on what was already going on for me to be kind of in.
Did you beat it?
No, I didn't. Okay. I will. I think I should. But it definitely kept me like wondering what is going on, which is cool. But they definitely don't lead with it. It doesn't happen immediately.
Yeah, right now I'm just trying to find cool spots in the Bay Area that I recognize right now. It's really what's going on. And hanging out with what's his name? Jarl? Carl? The guy you first meet in the beginning of the game, who's also a Nora, and his mom was the Nora chief, I think.
Yeah, Varl. Who you're thinking of. Yeah.
I wanted to call him Jarl. He could be one of the Jarls.
Yeah, he's a Jarl.
He's in the Jarl Club.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. I like Varl.
Yeah, Varl. But yeah, that's all I've been playing. What have you been playing, Jace?
Video games, man. They're still good. I have been playing a bunch of stuff, but I really just want to talk about 2 things this week. The first of which is this game called Cosmoteer, Starship Architect and Commander.
That's a cool name.
A mouthful of a name, but pretty cool. I like it.
Architect and Commander. There's not many of those, are there?
I know. No. Yeah, it's definitely a combo.
I designed this place and I'm the boss.
Honestly, that's a lot of what the game is. So I had seen this online. It had gotten really good reviews on like Steam, and so I was interested to see like what actually it was. I think on first blush, I was like, oh, it looks like some kind of riff on FTL, and I was just curious because I loved FTL. So why not get some more of that? It ends like there is a comparison to be made there, but I think it's actually a very different game than FTL is. First off, it's not a roguelike. You essentially start the game and you're put in possession of like some kind of starter ship. And the way that the game loop plays out is that you show up to some space station, hail them and talk to them and see like, I need some resources from you, or let me know what kind of missions you got, or do you have upgrades for my ship or something like that. You get those missions, you go do them, which usually is like fight some rebels or like criminals or something, clear some asteroid field, or explore part of this like system that you're in. And then report back, get some money, and then from there you can upgrade your ship.
Yeah.
So not a roguelike. If you die, and then you go back to your last save point, which is weirdly enough kind of a riff at this point, because so many games are roguelikes that I'm just like, hey, good old fashioned save points, just like Mama used to make them. What is this?
I know, antiquated game design.
Yeah, it weirdly feels kind of fresh at this point, but still. So yeah, that's sort of the loop that you get in, and I think like where this game starts to really shine is in the Starship Architect part of the game.
Sure.
Whenever you want to upgrade something, essentially you press a button and it pulls very close into your ship, and you get like a editor of a ship that almost reminds me of like The Sims at a certain point. It is this grid that you can edit and move shit around and like build more of your ship. Like literally physically you can add more parts to the grid. And so like if you want to make a gigantic triangle, you can, or if you want to make something that looks like a shark, you can, all just by kind of like putting in, okay, I want armor here. I want this to be part of the interior. I want this to be living quarters and all that sort of stuff. And then from there, once you've actually like gotten into a place where physically it makes sense for you, you can add like, all right, I want lasers up here. I want a flat cannon over there. I need engines here. And then depending on where your engines are, that will determine like what can be next to it. Because if you put a part of your ship next to a 3-way engine, then it'll just kind of light it on fire when you're riding around.
That's great.
And so there's a lot of stuff like that where you have to manage like how physically your ship can make sense, because there's a lot of stuff internally too of like, all right, I need this many people to run like kind of the top part of my ship. I need my guns to be kind of a little bit closer to my reactor so that they can get power faster. And like a number of like decisions like that where you have to figure out like what makes the best sense physically for this thing that I'm building, which is really cool because it takes a while, right? Like I think that is kind of the big part of the game. And so you spend a lot of time in the editor mucking around and being like, okay, well, what if I move my engine a couple grids back, and then if I move like my the living quarters over here, then I'll have more room to for my people to move around, or like maybe I can add like a conveyor belt to help them go faster in one direction. Or do I just try and make my ship bigger so that I can like put more stuff in it, but then also I need to compensate for that by adding more armor, or like does the back of my ship become a liability at that point because I got all my valuable stuff back there that might explode. And so you do all that, and then you kind of go back into the game loop. But I think what's really cool about this game is that it's not an auto battler. Like you can have a lot of control over how you fight another ship, but I am reminded of auto battler games where you kind of set it and forget it in a certain sense of like, once I engage in combat, I'm kind of just hoping that the plan that I made of how I built my ship is going to work right. Because like the combat is like, there's a lot going on. Like you will come upon a ship and say, all right, I want to attack this part of it, kind of like FTL. And they'll start like just firing cannons and lasers and missiles and all, like a lot of shit is happening. And like I said, you can control that manually, but like a part of me is just like, I think that if I built my ship good enough, then I won't need to get in there and muck around manually. Like it should just be able to run itself.
Speak for itself. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Which is cool. Like that's a cool feeling to kind of feel like I've got it running in a way that I wanted it to.
The efficiency boy is coming out.
Kind of. It's definitely not the same thing, but it reminds me of when in like a deck building game, the deck starts to work in a way that I was hoping it would.
Sure.
Of like, oh shit, okay, I'm doing the combos that I wanted to, and I'm not losing as much, or like I consistently pull the things that I need to, in the same way that like, okay, I see that my ship is taking less damage from this side because I added like anti-air gun or something to shoot down missiles. Because I added all these engines on the side, I'm able to maneuver more and like outmaneuver my opponent in a way. And so it's just really cool. I don't know that I've seen a like 2D shipbuilder like this quite as robust as it is. And that's really cool. I think that there's like a lot of games that have a 3D ship or a 3D like space exploration, but I think it's really smart of them to focus on like you just get to flex your creativity with how you're building this thing. It reminds me if like somebody said, all right, what if we just used Ultra Hand from Zelda and made a spaceship? It feels kind of like that, where
cool.
The only thing that's really inhibiting you is your own creativity in a certain sense. Obviously, there's like limits in the game of like, if you build 100 guns, you will need 100 people to man them. And so you'll have to kind of figure that out. But, and like energy is a concern, and something they call command points of like how big your bridge needs to be to like manage all this shit.
You need a big bridge.
Exactly. So you have to manage these kind of like numbers that are on your ship, but still, it's really fun to just make a really fucking weird ship and see if it works.
You making your Sonic car of ships out there?
Yes, exactly. Like it was so much fun. Like for a while, I was just running the orb ship, which is just cannons on the front and engines on the back of a big circle. That was ridiculous and didn't work for very long because it was not very maneuverable. And because it's like there's no hard edges, I kept lighting the sides of my ship on fire because the engines were not perfectly aligned to not catch fire when I was trying to like make a hard turn. Right now I am in the stick phase of the ship, where I've sort of just got a long stick that kind of narrows at the top. No, sorry, backwards. It flares the top because that's where all my guns are. So I've just got this long, like hammerhead shark looking thing.
My ship design, stick gun.
Yeah, stick gun right now. I haven't looked yet online to see like what people are making, because I imagine that it will put my hammerhead shark to shame.
God, dude.
But I'm having a good time with it right now. I think that like it is not the experience that I was expecting to have. I think when comparing it to something like FTL, like I feel like FTL was so concerned with the point of the game being this like strive to beat it. Like that's the point of FTL, is like you are going to fail 100 times beating this game. But that's kind of part of it. Like you get a little farther, or you learn a new thing, or you unlock a new ship, and all of that is in service of this hard, challenging overall goal of beating FTL. Whereas I don't really get the sense for Cosmoteer. Like I think the point of the game is that loop of, I just unlocked a whole bunch of new resources or parts. Let me kind of tinker with my weird hammerhead stick and see if I can make a better ship, or seeing if I can make what I have more efficient or something like that. And then tuning it and seeing like, all right, when I go out and get in a fight with like 3 pirates, what happens?
Sure. More experimentation.
Which is, it's cool. It's a very different way to lay out a game. There's not really like a story. I think it's technically in early access, so maybe that'll change eventually, but right now they kind of just toss you in a ship and they're like, all right, do some missions. There is sort of this progress loop of doing all that and then, you know, jumping to another system that is a little higher level. It almost works kind of like World of Warcraft, where it says like, here, this zone is like level 4 to 5 or whatever. And so you can kind of see, am I ready for the next one, or do I need to hang out here a little bit more and do some more missions or whatever. So I think it's really cool. I think this is a really novel game, and like something that if you're into this level of tinkering, it is really cool. And like I think would also appeal to people who like The Sims or something like that, where it might not be the like life sim part of it, but I think the customization part of it is really familiar in a way that I think is really neat.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, that's Cosmoteer.
Can you make an outlaw starship?
Like physically?
I mean, in that game.
Like, could you be a pirate?
Yeah. Like the ship with arms from Outlaw Star. You remember that?
Yeah, I don't know if they're like grabbing arms, but you could definitely make the physical version of that. Like that is definitely an option available to you.
Just put some guns there.
Yeah, just put a couple of guns. You'd be all right.
Guns for hands.
There's like a mining laser. You could do that.
Cool.
It's cool. I like this game. I think it's neat. The other game that I've been playing that I played a lot of over the past couple of days is Subnautica, David.
Oh. Back into Subnautica.
Yeah, I'm back into Subnautica. This is sort of a swerve, but a listener named Dan suggested this one earlier in the year. I figured because both you and I have played this like kind of a lot, like I don't know if Good Games is the right medium for it, but I was like, hey, I'll play it and just like see what's up. So Dan, consider this a little mini Good Games. Thank you for your suggestion.
There you go.
I'll play the hot stat singer here and just speed it up a lot. Subnautica, made by Unknown Worlds Entertainment. They made a bunch of like popular Half-Life mods called Half-Life Natural Selection. And then they made Natural Selection 2, which is like kind of a game unto itself. And then both Subnauticas, this one and then the
Below Zero
as well. And most recently they made Moonbreaker, which is like a tabletop miniatures simulation game. It looks neat, but I really haven't checked it out very much. This game came out early 2018 on PC and at the end of 2018 on consoles. I think I had checked it out when it was in early access because I think I played it a little bit before 2018 originally. By the way, you played this game, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Again, that was sort of my assumption of like we might just be rehashing thoughts that we have already had about Subnautica. But yeah, still, I don't have a review. I did ask ChatGPT to do a review. To just see if like that's ever going to be an option for us.
I'm scared.
That's why I was mentioning ChatGPT earlier. I told it many times, make it worse than it did.
Can you tell ChatGPT to run it through the Strait of Esperanto?
I did. I told it like put it into one language and then do it into another and see like what happens at the end.
Really?
Yes. And then with that ending one, I said, just pretend like you don't have a good grasp on English.
Put it through a bad translator.
Yes. Yeah. So this is what they had to say. And let me just start by saying it's no Joe video, David.
I believe that. How could you be? So yeah, ChatGPT reviewed this game and said, Subnautica's like, whoa, this game, man. It's all about diving into the ocean and stuff. You know, the visuals are like, boom. Mind-blowing, dude. And the creatures, holy moly, they're like, whoa. But wait, the controls, dude, they're like, what even? Like a fish trying to fly, you know? It's like, whoa, I'm swimming in circles, man. It's like being lost in the maze of confusion, dude. And then that was their review. Well, they definitely did make it worse.
They did make it worse, and unfortunately, it does sound a little bit closer to a transcript of a video game Podtimism episode.
Oh, no.
I was reading it like, oh, that kind of sounds like us, doesn't it?
You should tell it, make it like video game Podtimism, see what it does.
So, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to return to that well. I think the home style bad translation is really what I'm here for.
There's no oil to be gotten from that well, Chase.
No, I don't think so.
There's no water in there.
So my actual thoughts about this game. Dan had suggested this and said, I'm curious to hear if it scares the bejesus out of you two like it did me. Dan, it does. It scared the fuck out of me, this game. Jesus, man. So just like off the top of it, my first response to this game was that it immediately drops you in. And for anybody who hasn't played this game, I guess that's an important distinction. It's a survival game that is mostly like goal based. I feel like you constantly have kind of something that you're doing in Subnautica.
That's true.
But it's a survival game, right? Like you show up and you in the base version of the game have like hunger, thirst, and health that you have to manage. I played this game without hunger or thirst because I was just like, I've played the first 80% of this before, and I kind of don't want to have to deal with like hunger or thirst. It's not really adding a lot.
I didn't know you could turn that off.
Yeah. It was an option that they offered like right when I started. And I was happy about that because that doesn't usually add a lot for me. I think the thing that I come
anxiety.
It's more anxiety in an already anxiety inducing game. But Subnautica is this survival game that mostly takes place underwater. You land on like a mostly watery planet.
Crash land.
You crash land. Your ship, I think it's the Aurora, gets shot out of the sky from this planet for unknown reasons initially. And you escape in a life pod, get knocked out, and then come to and, got to figure out what to do. So essentially, the first couple things are like just get healed, get your resources up, and like maybe improve your fins or your oxygen levels or something like that.
Yeah, basic stuff.
And then you kind of get some of the plot hooks in you eventually after you explore a little bit. But the game is split out into these different like biomes essentially. So you start on like kind of a shallower part of the ocean that is just kind of like a couple of caves and like pretty basic fish swimming around there. There's like a kelp forest that is right around you that has a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
And initially you're gated by how, like what kind of depth you can dive to by your oxygen limits. And then there's also like, once you pass, I think it's 100 meters, then it gets harder to use your oxygen. So you run out of it faster, like at that point. So you have to figure out ways around that and all yada, yada, yada. The scary part of the game is twofold. One, I am frightened of big bodies of water. That is very scary for me.
Yeah.
I think the internet loves to call that thalassophobia. I like to call that common sense. Fuck big bodies of water, David. I'm too frightened of that stuff. That's where I can't move good.
I'm with you on that one. I'm very terrestrial. I'm exceptionally terrestrial. I don't like big bodies of water. I don't like feeling strong gusts of wind next to like edges, especially.
Oh yeah, sure.
I like the feeling of gravity pushing me and caressing me against Mother Earth where I come from. Yeah. Not plunging me into the depths of the ocean.
No, when I'm tired, I sit on the ground. If I'm in the ocean and I'm tired, I go down and drown. Yes. It's a little poem. That's a little poem I just made up for you.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. So yeah, ocean's scary. The other thing that is frightening is that some like initially there's like little kind of sharky creatures. They're really thin little guys, and so they'll come up and like kind of bite you a little bit, but it's like not that bad.
It's like an exploratory nibble.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I don't like you being here. And it's like, all right, respect. I'm gonna back off your zone. But the ocean harbors great mighty creatures, David.
Oh, sure
and
does.
Some of them are exceptionally large and big and scary.
Yeah.
In Subnautica, they have these things called leviathans, and some of them are huge jellyfish, and they're chill. Other ones are scary sea snakes that will come and fucking eat you, and they're so big.
Sea serpents.
And they make such scary noises.
Yeah.
And the game is just so frightening. I went into it, I was like, I want to beat Subnautica this time, because I didn't the first time, and I think I was pretty close last time. I was like, I'm going to beat it this time. And I purposefully avoided all the spots that I remembered huge leviathan showing up. I was never swimming up where it's like a lot of the biomes, you have to swim a little bit deeper to like still be on the ocean floor. And so if you're in an area that like the floor is like 200 meters down, there's a lot of open water above you. And your boy just was not looking up or swimming around up there, because that's where the bad guys are. So I was just like, no shot. No way am I hanging out up there. Too scary.
Chase was a flounder on the bottom floor of the ocean.
Yes. And eventually something that Subnautica introduces, that you can get these like vehicles, which are really cool, because for the beginning of the game, you're mostly just swimming. Eventually you can unlock this thing called the Sea Moth, which is like kind of a smaller vehicle that you can get around in pretty quick, but it also has like depth limits, so you can't just dive. You can get a prawn suit, which is like, looks like the suit in Aliens, where it's like you got 2 arms and 2 legs. You can kind of get a little bit of a booster. And then eventually you unlock the sickest thing, which is the Cyclops, this like big submarine that like, you have to physically get in and wander around in there to like pilot it. But David, that's the spooky vehicle. With the sea moth and the prawn, I'm tiny. I'm maneuverable. I can get around. With the Cyclops, I'm big and slow. And these big spooky leviathans can just be like,
"Hey fucker, it's me."
You get these like little pings on your radar of like these red things coming out.
I never got that far.
It's so scary. You're so exposed. And usually
that's also like Alien. The ping is closer.
Yeah. It's really, really frightening. And usually I've learned this this time because I read some guides to make me a little bit less of a chicken shit in this game. If you stop moving and stop making as much noise, that sometimes they don't notice you. And so typically what will happen is just frightening, terrifying moments where you see it on your radar. It's not red yet, so it's not attacking you. And you just completely come to a halt and see this big creature just like kind of slowly swim by the front of your gigantic submarine. So scary. This game is terrifying. But I like it. I haven't said that yet, that I really like that part of it. It is like horror games stop being scary at a certain point to me. After I have played them for, 10, 20 hours, it's like, okay, I get it. Like I understand the tricks that you're going to pull, and it's no longer quite as terrifying.
Yeah.
Big sea snake, scary every time. Every single time. And I think it's partially because they are so dangerous and you don't encounter them all the time. There was plenty of times I just like didn't run into one while I was wandering around.
There's always the threat of them. They're always lurking somewhere.
Yeah. And it's like the sun goes down. It's dark under there. So like you can't necessarily see as well as you could during the day.
Yeah.
But I totally love that. I love that experience of just being horrified in my big sub trying to get down to the ocean floor. Essentially the way that the game plays out as far as story is that like you you end up finding these like old alien structures that hint that like some other civilization was here before. They ran into some kind of problem that you're now trying to solve. And there's a lot of mystery wrapped up in that. There was also a exploration team that was here like I think it was like either 10 or 100 years ago. I think it was probably closer to 10. It was more recent. And you're finding a lot of their like audio logs of like what's going on with them and what happened, which is all very cool. I know that in Below Zero, they opted to go a little bit more heavy on the story side. Like there are characters and like a lot more dialogue. And I think that is cool and definitely a cool experiment. But I really like the sparsity that they had in this one, where it feels like you're really alone out here.
Yeah.
Which is another kind of like terror that is a part of the game. Like I think a lot of the scariness of this game is like, it's just me out here and I got to figure this out.
They do a good job of tapping into a very primal sort of fear in this game.
Yeah.
I am alone on an alien world. There's no one around me. And I'm being like actively hunted and preyed upon.
Yeah, there's something out there that's coming to get me.
You are constantly in your fight or flight mode when you are playing this game. There's never any resting or digesting. You are constantly on edge. And I think that's what makes it so terrifying.
Yeah, because shit could break bad, like very bad at a certain point.
Yeah.
I read up a little bit about like what to do in this game, and I realized that I made a pretty critical mistake last time of there is like an area of the game that if you go out there, it's like that there's nothing beyond that. And the game tries to tell you like, don't go out there. That's not where you should be. What had happened was I thought that's where I need to go the first time I played this game. And so I built my big Cyclops thinking that like I need to go off this like cliff edge and dive to like an even deeper part of the game. But there are ghost leviathans out there that will come and get you. And like more of them will spawn the farther down you go. And so I think the last time I played this, my submarine got blown up and I was like, nope, I think I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this time I didn't do that. I did a couple of guides to be like, all right, what do I maybe need to be doing at this point? So did end up beating it, which was pretty nice.
Nice.
It's a great game. I really like this one. I think that there's great stuff about it. And I think a lot of what I came away appreciating about it was just like what the game is saying and like kind of the thematic stuff that it's doing. Like the actual game I think is incredible. So a couple things there, right? Like the survival part of the game is great. I think the loop of like unlocking a new thing, getting a module for your vehicles that'll allow you to go to a deeper place to get more resources, to come back and like upgrade your shit. That's all really good. And I think in the survival game genre that this one is really like one of the greats for me, just because it does that loop so well. I'm constantly interested in getting to that next thing, and it never really bogs me down with like too much of that. I played a lot of these kinds of games, and I think something that usually will knock me off of playing them is just giving me too much at once. I ran into this with like Valheim, and The Forest was another one that I tried at some point, and like there's just so much shit all at once. Whereas like I think Subnautica is kind of restrained in what it gives you. It's like you've got titanium and you've got copper and silver that you need to get right now. And that's kind of it. And like those are the resources that you need to manage. And you've got a very limited number of things that you can build. And I like that. I like that it is restrained in that way. But to what I was saying before, I think that in this game that they're like, there's a lot of stuff on display. I think the creators have a deep appreciation of the sea. Like the first time you jump into the water,
the developers are all pirates
of the high seas, laddie. That they have an appreciation of underwater, because the first time you jump in there, it's like beautiful. That like starting area is gorgeous, where most of the like creatures are non-violent. They're not coming for you. They're just kind of swimming around. Like there's a bunch of different colors. It's really vibrant and it's just great. Like I think artistically that area is really cool. They also said that they were inspired by James Cameron and like his attempts to like dive deep down, which apparently he has done a lot.
Yeah, he is an explorer.
Yeah, which is cool. Like, I think that's neat. But something that I wasn't expecting, but I read up on Wiki, was that the developers were really, I mean, like inspired is not the right word, but thoughtful after Sandy Hook, the shooting.
Huh.
Where they said like when they were developing the game, they were purposely like, we have to remove the like violent shooty parts of this game. Like we don't want them in there anymore. And I think that shows. I think the game is exceptionally non-violent.
Okay. They had like a harpoon gun in it before or something like that?
I'm not exactly sure the specifics, but they just said like, we're going to not have any of that in here. And like any of the stuff that you have to like interact with the other creatures usually is like not shooting. There's like a couple of moments where you have like a gravity gun, essentially.
Sure.
Where you can kind of move stuff, but I think the game is in restricting what actions you can do. It's definitely showing its hand about like what it believes. And I think like non-violence, or at least like non-shooting violence, is a big part of that.
Awesome.
Which is cool. And I just thought that was really cool, but it serves this kind of larger theme. And I think the story hits on a lot of both non-violence, but then also like cooperation and sort of an appreciation for the natural world and like respect for it. A lot of the situations that the characters of the audio logs that you're listening to, when they get into these bad situations, a lot of time they're not cooperating. They are being violent. And they're not sort of like respecting this big ocean for what it is. They're kind of trying to push against that stuff in a way that feels like kind of bad and toxic. And one of the later story beats pretty specifically calls out like, you know, these, I'll try and be kind of vague here, but you know, the one of the characters is kind of explaining to you like these people tried to come and like conquer this part of us. And like, that's not going to work. We have a choice in this when we decided not to. Which is really cool. And in your helping, you are able to kind of like overcome the issues that are in front of you, and not just coming in and like extracting resources or subjugating or anything like that. It's great. I think this game is really good. I loved getting to the later part of the levels where it's like you're down like 100 meters in the ocean. The sections down there are really cool. I think that I wasn't expecting the designs that they had for those like biomes, because the first time I got through, I was getting into like the 300, 400 meter depth, and it's just kind of like dark down there. Yeah. But if you eventually, go through the rest of the story, there are parts that you'll go into like these caves, and they're a lot brighter down there. Which is cool. I wasn't expecting that. So yeah, it's a good game.
Oh yeah.
Did you what were you kind of left with once you had played Subnautica the last time?
What was I left with? My impression. I thought that the survival aspect was well done. It was a very unique take on a survival game because it is all underwater, and underwater is not something I'm very familiar with. Whereas forests, which is I think like the main thing that people are doing survival games in, or like tundras, I have some understanding of. Right. I did enjoy that it was like a bizarro underwater world. Right. Nothing was very similar things to like what's on Earth, but different at the same time. So it kind of kept you interested in what's going on. And I enjoyed the emptiness of just how it felt. Like it's everything was just kind of in your own head about planning and surviving, which is really what the game comes down to, right? So I enjoyed that. And there's a feeling of always being preyed, hunted upon when I'm in the water. Was so frightening, and just hearing big scary things off in the distance when I'm just kind of enjoying a nice swim with my fish buddies who are just like my homies, maybe zap me a bit, but aren't bad. It was spooky. It was spooky, and then just going down a little bit deeper and just finding like these bigger, scarier things.
Oh my god!
It's just it's kind of an interesting form of curiosity where there's this sort of not morbid aspect to it, but like, ooh, what's the next scary, spooky thing that they're going to show me the further down I go? Because I know it's going to get fucked up. It's kind of what kept me going. But then also, of course, the mystery of what is deeper. Is it the Titanic? Who knows? We'll see. James Cameron's with you. That's the next DLC. James Cameron's just with you on the sub.
Come hang, James. JC. Yeah, no, I agree with all that. It's I think among like I said, among the survival games, I think this is up there for me. I had read that the devs were like obviously very inspired by Minecraft. Which makes sense. I think that whole genre is very based around the success of Minecraft in the first place. Yeah, but it's cool. I think they did a lot of looking at like what makes that genre fun, and then sort of made it their own. I think a lot of the time in the games that are really open like that, I need something to focus on, and I think Subnautica gives that to me. Of like, your goal is to figure out how to get out of here.
Yeah, you're not just surviving. You're finding a way out.
Yeah, which it really pulls me along. I think it is sort of not tangential, but a different example is the difference between just like vanilla Minecraft and Dragon Quest Builders. Like I really like Builders because it is a Minecraft game. You did a lot of voxels and digging and crafting and all that shit. But you always have such an explicit mission that you need to do of we need to build a city with this kind of stuff and this many people and that many things. So that usually pulls me along quite a bit more. Just go out and hang. I think there was a time when that was really compelling, especially like right when Minecraft got on the scene. I was like, yeah, dude, this is great. I want to spend all the time in you, me, and Jahan's server called Shit Dog and just hang out there.
That did happen.
That did happen. But I really do like when they give you a little bit of direction with that combination of openness that you often find in the genre, which is cool.
Absolutely.
Thanks for suggesting that one, Dan. I had a good time playing it, and I hope you're okay with this being the segment.
I enjoyed playing it like 3 years ago. It's great.
Yeah. It had been a while for me too. I think Steam showed me that the last time I played it was in 2019, so it's been a minute.
Yeah, I hadn't played that one in a while. I don't know if what I was saying was super accurate for my feelings on it, but I enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah, that's accurate. It's at least accurate in the things you were describing.
Yeah.
Anyway, David, this will bring me to my Podtimistic thing of the week.
Yes, which is?
It's good underwater levels, David.
A dime a dozen. Dime a dozen.
There are so many bad underwater levels.
I know. It's sad.
It is sad because like they don't need to be like that, but
no.
I feel like most of the time when you're playing a game and an underwater level shows up, they're like, hey, you know how fun it was to control the game and go the speed that you've been going the whole time? Sorry. You're going to slow down a lot. It's going to be a lot harder to move. And it's just going to be not as cool down here.
Mm-hmm.
However, Subnautica, mostly just a water level and very good. I've also been watching Emily Alice play Super Mario Odyssey, which has 2 very good water levels.
Those are some good water levels in Odyssey.
Really good ones. So the like beach level, and then the kind of like not crystal, but the kingdom where all the like mermaids are and shit.
Oh, yeah. And don't they have a penguin level?
Yeah, there's an ice level as well, which is also very good.
Yeah.
I think that the thing with Mario Odyssey is that they give you a lot of avenues to traverse the water in ways that aren't just Mario. You can like throw Cappy onto a fish and then just, you don't have to worry about breathing down there.
That they figured it out eventually that we don't want to have to really feel like we're underwater. Mm-hmm. We want to enjoy the world of underwater.
Yeah.
But not necessarily have to manage it like a human, unless it's done well, like in Subnautica.
Yeah, totally. And in Subnautica, a lot of the time I'm flying around on my glider and like, it doesn't really look like underwater all the time.
Yeah.
Like
you
could just be in a hovercraft. Yeah,
exactly.
But they made it good. So yeah, a good underwater level. It's always welcome.
Nice.
Do you have something fueling your sense of optimism, David?
I do.
What is it?
It is good old RNGesus. RNG.
Let my man take the wheel.
Let my man take the wheel. He giveth and he taketh away.
It's true.
There are fewer, more exciting or memorable moments in a game that has RNG, random number generation.
Number generator,
right?
Yeah.
Where it's essentially saying like they roll a dice and if you win, you win. If you lose, you lose big. If you win big, you win big. You lose big, you lose big. So it is always the most intense part of the game, right? So definitely Mario Party chance time.
Sure.
Getting hit by Bowser's big laser that just destroyed me. Also awful. And then a lot in the game that we're about to talk about.
I was about to say,
on good games. So I enjoy it. I say it's my Podtimistic thing because I have a love-hate relationship with RNG.
Yes. Yeah.
It's either my best friend or I am cursing it and being kind of grumpy about it. And there's really no middle ground. It is a good way to practice podtimism.
Yeah.
Because when it's hitting, ooh, you feel good. But when it's not, life's kind of rough at the moment.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. But overall, I enjoy it. It's a good time. It's always at least a memorable experience.
Yeah, comes up a lot. I'm still playing a fair bit of Marvel Snap, so I do run into RNGesus pretty frequently.
He's out there.
He's out there lurking.
Ben Brode is known to affiliate with RNGesus.
Cool. Speaking of our thing for good games, do you want to move on to it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's roll.
Autobots roll out.
Hey, it's Good Games. It's a segment where the segment where we talk about the okayest games of yesteryear and gush all the things that we love about them. Got a good fucking game this time, man.
We talking about glizzies today.
We're talking about glizzies. David just inhaled a hot dog between segments.
There was an extra dog, and I ain't gonna leave a dog down. I had to take it.
Yeah,
that's the way it goes.
Never leave a dog down. Yeah, we got a good one. We got suggested to play the Pokemon trading card game by 2 listeners. It's the first time that's happened before.
It's an extra powerful suggestion.
It really is. We got suggested by Dave C. and Springus Dingus, aka Hill. So thanks to both of you. We asked for both of their thoughts, which we'll get into a little bit here. To be honest, David,
yes.
For a while, I was like, I don't know if I want to play this one. I was looking at it. The cover looks a little uninspired, like trying to be podtimistic here, but like
It looks like a booster pack.
It looks like a booster pack. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. And that's one of the wronger opinions I've had in my life.
I've never been more wrong.
I've never been so wrong. I'm getting too far. I'm getting ahead of ourselves. Let me hit you with the real hot stats for this episode.
Please,
David.
instead of the hot opinions.
Hot stats.
So this game came out in North America, April 10th of 2000 and December 18th of 1998 in Japan. So there was a 2-year gap between these games coming out from Japan to North America. Mm-hmm. I think it maybe wasn't planned for an American launch, but then they're like, actually, no, let's do this. And so it took a little time to get over here.
Sure.
It was co-developed by Hudson Soft and Creatures is the name of the company.
Sure.
So I didn't know a lot about Creatures. Apparently this is like a company that's like mostly concerned with the Pokemon TCG, the trading card game. They design Pokemon toys and they like work with 3D models of Pokemon. So it sounds like they are involved in that part of the Pokemon, the state of Pokemon. Mm-hmm. So, they're involved in that. Hudson Soft, you probably know from the Mountain of Bomberman games that they have made, or Mario Party 2 through 8. They made those.
Okay.
So, quite a few Mario Parties under their belt. And then, of course, Frogger Ancient Shadow was also them.
Ancient Shadow? What kind of...
Yeah.
Is that Frogger trying to be serious?
I guess so, yeah. It did come out kind of in the mid-2000s, so that might have been his...
Did it come out 2005, 2006?
Yeah, the dark and gritty turn that Frogger made.
Frogger's answer to Prince of Persia, Warrior Within.
He can run on walls this time and turn back time. And he's got a haircut that covers up his eyes.
Yeah, and the other eye has a scar on it.
It's just Frog now. It's not Frogger anymore.
That's Mr. Frog to you.
Mm-hmm. I saw that on the Wikipedia page. It did say that, and this is, I'm quoting, curiously, Hudson is not credited anywhere on the game's package, cartridge, or title screen. However, the ending credits list them as the game's developer. So it's sort of a weird swerve there, but
interesting.
Yeah, it's odd. Oh my God, I didn't get a review.
Oh,
hold on.
You're too busy with ChatGPT.
An emergency translation is in order here.
Shit, you should have been doing that. I was guzzling on my glizzy.
I know, true. Okay, sorry. I do have a review now from Joe Video.
This is fresh. This is steaming off the plate.
This is fresh as it gets, man. I took their review just now and ran it through Google Translate a bunch of times, one language into another to get an artist's interpretation and mangle it up real good. So with that, let me read to you what Joe Video had to say about this game. All information about The Witch Coast can be found in the collectible card game. Whether you are new to theory or looking for a new challenge, the video game mod will allow you to discover all addictive potential of this perfect and super awesome gamer. A very exciting title that updates the Pokemon Classic once again. And they gave that a 16 out of 20, so they liked it.
Wow. Official petition to change West Coast to Witch Coast.
the Witch's Coast.
The Witch's Coast.
Absolutely. I would love to be the Witch Coast. That'd be amazing. Could you explain to me what this game is, David?
Yeah, this game it's essentially a top-down Pokemon game. At least when you look at the overworld and how you move around the world, it looks exactly like a Pokemon game from the Game Boy era.
Yep.
But instead of the traditional way of dueling and battling in those games, you instead play the Pokemon trading card game that everyone who grew up as a millennial will remember. The cards that you collected feverishly, trying to get a Charizard, of course. But there was actually a game connected to those too. Who would have thunk? And that's what you're playing in this.
Out of curiosity, did you ever play the trading card game?
Never once. I knew it existed. And I remember at our elementary school, I banned the game as well because I think people got into fights over the trading card game. Because I remember distinctly people bringing like their mats and like laying down.
There were both fights and there were enough scared Christian parents who were like, I think this might be the devil.
Yeah, it's definitely a false idol. Charizard. Altered to Charizard back in the day. Got to get that holographic.
That's true.
But, and there really isn't even an overworld. There are small little areas that you can walk around in. And it's pretty much, they're called clubs, but they're akin to the gyms in the regular Pokemon games. And instead of going along routes and getting stopped by trainers along the way, you just warp to the different clubs through a big overworld where you just kind of, it's more like a like a Final Fantasy type overworld where you're just going to a city and then selecting there, and then you go talk to people in this building, challenge people to Pokemon trading card game duels, and then eventually beating the master of that club and taking their badge. And then in the hopes of then being the chosen Pokemon trading card game master who then gets all of the legendary collection cards.
Yeah, you get the sickest cards if you're like the person who has the badges and you beat the champion and everything.
Yeah. So it's kind of a fun take on a Pokemon game. It's interesting.
Yeah, it feels like a very condensed version of the same simple formula of
it's just not this is not an RPG by any stretch of the imagination. It's a strict deck builder, just building decks.
Yeah, that's it. You got it. This game's fucking good, man. It's really, really good.
Surprise, surprise. Chase likes the deck builder.
I sure do. I would love to start with what Dave and Hill said, because I think Hill's comments about it, what they had mentioned, like kind of lead into where I'm going to start with this pretty well. So just first off, David said, playing this back when I was probably 11 or 12, my vague memories are that it was quite a bit harder than when I was playing Red and Silver on the Game Boy. I also remember thinking that it was weird that the mainline Pokemon games had you out adventuring, but if I remember correctly, all of the action in the TCG adventure was just going inside the gym buildings or whatever they're called, which is correct. Yeah. Quite a bit more condensed. I assume that they were probably very busy making the card part of the game, and they're like, I don't know if we need to do the whole adventuring thing as well. Yeah. Because it's quite an undertaking. So so that's what David mentioned. And then also Hill had mentioned, they'd said, I had this game as a kid and I remember just falling completely and utterly in love with it. It scratched an itch in my brain that I didn't know I had till then. It was also one of the games where I almost never met anyone else who played it. So between that fact and that I have the worst memory ever, I'd go years without remember it existed, and then someone would remind me like core memory unlocked or recovered. They said it's likely the bigger contributing factor for me loving deck building games. I honestly don't remember much of the specifics about it though, so I'm excited that the episode is motivating me to pick it back up again. I'm also excited about that. The final thing they'd mentioned was that, fun fact, Inscription, one of Hill's favorite games of all time, had a section that feels hugely inspired by this game and made them terribly happy, which is true. I played that part of Inscription, and having now played this game, it's very, very inspired by this, which is kind of amazing to see done. So first of all, thank you both for writing in about your thoughts. Definitely appreciate that, and definitely appreciate the suggestion. And what I was going to mention is that I came at this nearly the opposite end from Hill. That I really didn't get into deck building roguelikes until Slay the Spire, which was like not yesterday, but it was more recent than this game was. Sure. I like kind of fucked with tabletop card games every now and then when I was younger, but like nothing to the extent that I really like the deck building games that are on like actual consoles rather than the physical collection of games. Like I played Magic a little bit. Obviously I collected cards of Pokemon, but definitely did not play this game. And then actually I think like probably Hearthstone is another good example of this, because I was pretty into Hearthstone for a while. Yes. But I feel like that is also a game that is monetized a lot differently than this one was, or a lot differently than Slay the Spire was as well. These games are much more single player focused. So it was such a strange experience to go back and play this, because having appreciated and really loved a lot of those deck building games now, it was amazing to come back and be like, holy shit, they were doing this here? This is shocking. And again, this is the wrong opinion zone for a moment. Like when I was younger, I was like, who fucking plays this game, man? Like it's just about collecting the cards. But it's fun. It's a fun card game. Yeah, it is. I've never played the card game. It's pretty simple. It does not take a long time to learn how to play this game. No. Which I think is a point in its favor. You lose people pretty fast if it's like, you have to read 10 pages of instructions to like grok what is going on. Yes, yeah. And it also helps that, at least for people of my generation and other people who are like just Pokemon enthusiasts, they will know like what the evolutions are just by looking at it. You don't have to be like, oh, who evolves into what? I'm just like, oh, cool, I have a Machoke, so let's see if I have a Machamp. Yeah. And just go from there. Yeah, so I think it's streamlined in that way, which is nice. Yeah, it's the card game. I feel like Magic is probably the closest comparison, where if you want to play any of your like Pokemon, you can play them whenever. You only have one out at a time, but to like attack, you need a certain amount of like energy that corresponds with their type, right? Yeah. So you have a Charmander, you need it'll say on his attacks, like, okay, he needs at least one energy of any color and then like a fire energy to do an ember attack.
Yeah.
But other than that, like that's kind of it. You just draw through your deck and then do that. And then if you want to evolve them, like you were saying, if you have it in your deck, you can just do it. You then use the evolved version to fight with.
Yeah. Part of me who has just grinded so long in those Pokemon RPGs to evolve a Pokemon felt like, hold on, this is cheating. I can't just evolve you into Machampion right now. Champ.
You need another 20 hours of me grinding and then trading to get a specific evolution.
I need to put in the cheat code to get all the rare candies to be able to do this first, right?
Yeah. What did you think about this game overall? I feel like I haven't asked that yet.
I enjoyed it. I don't know if I was as in love with it as you because of my, as I mentioned earlier, my love-hate relationship with RNG in general, because I feel like I would have a decent plan underway and then I would just get paralyzed 5 times in a row because they just kept on getting it. And then that was pretty much it for the game. So that was frustrating. I felt like the snowballing, you could get snowballed or be the snowballer very easily depending on the way that the coin fell. Yeah. Because I remember there was one instance I was fighting someone in the grass gym and had this long drawn out battle with them and ended up losing by 1. And then it was annoying. That was fine, right? But then I went back and fought them again. And I beat them in like 2 turns.
It happens that sometimes.
And that was it. I'm just like, oh, okay, I guess I'm the best, actually.
I kind of like that about this game, that like you can almost brute force it sometimes of like, if I just play this person enough, eventually I'll get lucky and like I'll have a good Pokemon out early and they won't. And essentially like the way that you get to a win state is that they'll have a certain number of what they call prizes on the field. Which are just, I think they're just Pokemon cards from your deck.
That are just like a reward if you make the other Pokemon faint.
Correct.
Knock it out.
And so typically there's like 4 of them. And if you get all 4, then you win. Or if your person doesn't have any Pokemon out or on their bench, then you also win. And so like there are definitely situations where you knock the first one out and they haven't drawn another one yet. And then that's it.
Yeah, if they just have, like, that's what happened to me. Like, I went out there, one-shotted her Pokemon. She didn't have any in her bench, so it was over.
Yes.
And it was like a 6-prize battle. So usually you'd have to knock out 6 Pokemon. It was like, oh, it's over right now. Just like, okay. Cool.
I for whatever reason, my brain is like, nice. Okay, cool.
I mean, I was fine when I was the recipient.
Yes.
I was like, cool. All right.
I also suspect that I was playing this on the Steam Deck, and something I was mentioning to you before we started was that for the Steam Deck, something that I've mapped to like the paddle controllers is for the game to just fast forward, which is really nice.
Yeah.
It's so nice because like if there's a match where I'm like, I don't think I'm going to win this, but I would like to see the rest of it really quickly. Turn on fast forward and like they're taking their turns so quickly that you can turn around a match like really quickly.
That's nice.
Yeah, I think that was pretty helpful. And something that like I think you see a lot more in modern like card games is that if you want to, you can play the game very quickly. Yeah. Because a lot of the time it's like your turns are just drawing an energy, attacking, and then that's it. And then you wait for the other person to go. Yeah. So like as far as just overall feelings go, I'm way into this. I'm so ashamed that I have waited so long to play this game. I think a lot of it was fear that like, I just was kind of concerned that the UI would be pretty bad. Cause like, I feel like at the time in like 98 or 2000, like we just hadn't really nailed UI in a lot of places. Yeah. Especially like on the Game Boy Color. Yeah. Trying to model a physical card game,
like a board.
Yeah, like that seems like a really hard thing to do, but they really did it here. Like it's very clear what is going on, what is happening, why it's happening, what the state of the game is at any given time. Yeah. A lot of the time they'll just sort of like flip from one view to another. So it's like usually you're just looking at like what Pokemon is out there, what their energy is, how much health they have, and then the opponents as well. But it will like whenever you draw a card, it just like flips to a screen where it just shows you the card and then comes back. Or if you do one of the attacks where you need like a coin toss, it'll just cut to a coin toss and then show you what happens. Rather than like trying to fit all of that on one screen. It sort of segments them out into these little like bite-sized components where it's like, I understand what's happening most of the time that I'm playing this game.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
Which is great. Like I feel like that's such a hard thing to do. And like I said, especially on a Game Boy, that I'm so impressed that they were able to do it here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was pleasantly surprised that was not the case. And this is just like the dumbest reason not to play. But like the cover really turned me off of this game, man.
It was pretty basic.
It just looks like an energy card, which I think somewhere in my Pokemon broken brain, after having gotten so many booster packs and getting energy cards and
having garbage.
Exactly. This is something I can just put in the back of my card collection.
Yeah.
And never think about again.
Who needs energy when I could have pocket monsters?
Exactly. And so honestly, I was surprised that there was even a semblance of a story here, because I was sort of just expecting to pop it open and have it be like, okay, here's the arcade mode where you just play a game. But it's like, it's in there. Mm-hmm. I loved the way that the game sort of plays out, where whenever you beat pretty much anybody, they will give you a booster pack for beating them.
Yeah.
And like like I was mentioning before, this experience of like tuning and honing your deck over time is just like so satisfying in this game, because they essentially give you a starter deck, which is like, I think such a good move in a game like this, of like, don't worry about building it at first. We're going to give you some stuff that you will at least work a little bit.
It's like 60 cards. That would be way too.
It's a lot.
That would be way too much. Because you don't know, because then it gives you a blueprint like, okay, this is how much energy you need, this is how many basics Pokemon you need, how many different types you probably want in there.
Yeah, which was like really helpful as a starting template. I quickly started just removing the double typing thing and just using one type, which worked in some situations. Yeah, kind of like it really worked in some situations, and I got my ass absolutely kicked in other ones. But yeah, I loved the process of, I just got like one more card that I want to try in my deck. Or like, I wonder what this trainer card does, to see like, what effect does this have on the game? Or do I want that in there? Is this too much energy? Do I need more like of the basic Pokemon? Do I only need like one Charizard because it's hard to pull them? Or do I need like 10 or whatever? And again, just being able to see that immediately of like, did this work? Did this not work? And then eventually arriving on something that I'm like, I'm pretty confident that I could beat a lot of people in this game with this.
Yeah, you find your deck.
I don't know if, I don't know if you like Googled around it all, but it's also amazing that you can look up like real decks that people have used and be like, only the original like set of cards. Like, somebody show me a good deck, and you can find like lists of like, this is what was like banned in the original couple of years.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Which is like amazing. I didn't even think that was going to be an option, but like that it is. People were like, yeah, you should try and just, use Electabuzz, Hitmonchan, and Hitmonlee, because they're really good and cheap, and you can usually just like roll over your opponent really quickly.
Yeah, definitely the strong basic Pokemon were the ones to find. Like Magmar was my champ for a while.
Yes, dude, Magmar kicks ass.
And I got a Hitmonchan as well, and he was destroying folks. So it's because it is hard to get those big beefy boys out there. It just takes a long time to build up a Charizard in your hand, and by then it's like, oh man, Hitmonchan's already taken out like 5 of the opponents. So maybe I'll just like the Charizard playing him is just kind of the victory cigar. Essentially, it's like, hey, I got this too. You ain't beating this guy, that's for sure.
And it's cool. It weirdly reminds me of when I was trying to play StarCraft for a little while, where like getting your build right was a big deal.
Yeah.
It felt kind of similar, where like there were situations where my opponent would get like the 3rd evolution, but they had structured their deck in a way that like either they got there really fast, or I'd spent a long time just like spinning my wheels trying to like beat another one of their Pokemon, and then like I've got a bunch of people, but then they throw out this big monster that just like destroys the rest of my deck, which is really fun. I loved when that happened, because it was just another sign that like there was a lot that went into the design of this game.
Yeah.
Outside of the actual video game, but like the card game too. It feels like, I can feel the amount of consideration that went into this.
Absolutely. There is a lot of thought that went into this game for sure. And I think that it is an interesting style of card game. It is fun to evolve your Pokemon.
Yes.
But at the same time, I don't know if it's played most effectively the way that they want it to be played, which is evolving creatures and making them more powerful, as opposed to just playing these cheap cards.
Sure.
And then just making it more efficient, right?
I think that's why those decks were banned originally. It's because you would just like stack your deck with like 10 amazing mid-level non-evolvable creatures, and then just like wipe your opponent before they've even got a chance to set up.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think you're right to point that out, because even the community at the time was like, nope, that's too much.
Yeah. This isn't the game we want to play. We want to evolve our monsters. And I think it is fun when you do that. It's really fun to play like a Charizard or a Zapdos that's already ready to attack. Because if you throw it out there before it has the energy, like it's just going to die.
Yeah. It's not going to go great.
So there is this interesting process of, okay, I'm going to have like the sacrificial Pokemon, but oftentimes those like very weak Pokemon have these moves that will make it so like the opponent's paralyzed, or they can't attack, or they can't do X, Y, or Z. And then that gives you time to build up these creatures in your bench, and then you can put those out and they just wipe.
Yeah, it's great. You can really feel like, I see what they want me to do with these things.
Yeah.
Like I see the strategy here. It's great. I don't have any examples pulled up, but I'll play some here. But the music owns. Some of it is so good. The like fighting gym music specifically is so groovy and amazing.
Groovy. Yeah.
Yeah,
I see that.
It's I'm always surprised when there's like a banger of a soundtrack on a Game Boy Color.
Well, I mean, it is a Pokemon game. They always had good music.
It is, yeah. I think it would like my surprise was less that it was a good Pokemon soundtrack, but like it wasn't Game Freak, and so I was like, I wonder if they're going to be able to pull it out. And I wouldn't say it sounds exactly like a Pokemon game, but it just sounds good, which I really enjoy. Yeah. It's good. I know Hill had chimed in that they were playing the game again. We're reminded by how good the soundtrack was as well. So it's a good one. It's a goodie.
Can I just say that I loved getting booster packs and opening booster packs?
Good. Amazing. Yeah.
Holy nostalgia. Wow. Man, just even electronically, I'm like, oh, I got not one, but 2 booster packs for winning this battle.
It's so good. Yeah.
Oh, baby. I am just rolling in cards right now. It is raining booster packs. It's great. It could be anything.
It's also such an amazing decision. They were clearly like relying on people enjoying opening card packs because they were already doing the Hearthstone thing where like immediately after you open one, you look at what you got in there. It's not okay, you added whatever you just got into your collection. It's like, I get to thumb through my new cards and look to see if I got an Ultras.
Yeah. Read what they do.
Yeah.
Start thinking about what deck you're going to put it in. It's a lot of thinking. It's a lot of thinking this game.
It is. It's great. If there's one thing I was to sort of like poke at, I think that I always had issues when I was making a deck and I didn't have a lot of cards, that if you have a card in one of your other decks, you won't be able to use it in another one. So like,
oh, sure.
If I had, say, a deck that was using like some water Pokemon and some fire Pokemon, I would have both water and fire energy in that one. And then if I went to go make another deck that's like fighting and fire, a bunch of my fire energy would already be used in my other deck, which makes sense if you're thinking about this game physically, right? Like I can't have 2 decks like that, but like it's a card game, man. Just like, let me have these sort of like theoretical decks just floating out there that I could use.
Got to get more boosters.
Yeah. I get that. They want you to play it a little bit more so you can have like kind of a bigger collection, but it did sort of tamp down on some of the experimentation that I could do.
Sure. Yeah.
Which I feel like to me was a lot of the fun of this game, was putting together something, seeing if it works, and either succeeding or failing catastrophically, which is what happened quite a bit, was like, this deck doesn't work. It's not good.
Yeah.
I oftentimes initially, when I was starting, would neglect the trainer cards that allow you to like draw more cards.
You need a lot of draw in this game.
You do. Yeah. Because you run out pretty quickly, or in the situation where you just have like a bad hand, you really need to be able to deal with that.
Yeah. I need a lot of Bills and I need a lot of Professor Oaks. I need to burn through this deck.
Yeah. It's also possible, unfortunately enough, to burn through your deck and lose. Like if you don't have any more cards to draw, you're
done.
lose.
You're out.
So yeah, I know that there's There was a trainer card for, I think it was like Dark Professor Oak, who just looks like a bad boy.
Professor Oak, but he has a pierced earring.
And I think there was probably a way to make like a mill deck if you tried.
I was about to say, I want to play Mill Rogue in this game.
Yeah, but that seemed like a lot, and I only had one of those, so I was like, I'm just gonna stick with my my Bulbasaur deck.
So what does Bad Boy Oak do?
He makes your opponent discard his hand and draw 7 cards.
Ooh.
It's just the inverse of whatever yours does.
What Professor Oak does. That's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. I think that card would be a lot more fun in person, because I could kind of see, like, is this person look like they have a shitty hand or not? Because if they have something that they're like, they've got a whole play order, it looks like they're kind of holding it in a way where they're like, all right, I've got this card on the left or right in the center, and I'm going to do this and then that, and then just make them discard all of that, and that would be pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
What was your deck like, by the way? What were you rolling with?
I was rolling with fire and fighting.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So I had a Charizard, I had Ponyta and Rapidash.
Yep.
It was mostly fire. Magmar. I think I had 2 Magmars.
Yeah.
And then for the fighting, I had Machop, Machoke, Machamp, and Hitmonchan.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had some neutrals as well in there. So I had like a Meowth. I had the Meowth that, like, if you flipped the coin well, then you got to draw a card for some more card draw.
Sure, yeah.
That one was pretty solid. And I had Eevee and Flareon.
Oh, sure enough, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was another Meowth that I had in there, which I loved, which was like, if you attack and like you roll a certain card, it's either going to hit, or no, just in general, it will hit a random person in their deck.
Mm-hmm.
So like whoever they have on their bench, Meowth just like slaps them for 20 damage. Which is amazing, because like
good.
It's really good, because usually the person will put out like their best card or their strongest card like out on the front line, and then kind of hold the weaklings back while they're trying to evolve them.
Yeah.
And then with Meowth just kind of like punches them as they're sitting on the bench.
Yeah, Meowth kills the weaklings.
Yeah, it's really fun. Moltres too is a wild card.
Ooh, I never got a Moltres.
It like essentially one of the bigger attacks it has is that it does a lot of damage. It's like 70 to whoever is in front of you or something like that, a lot. And then you flip a coin, and if it's heads, you do 10 damage to their entire bench.
Ooh.
Or if it's tails, you do 10 damage to your own bench.
Oh my God.
It's
dude,
like
the RNG is so wild.
Yes. It's this amazing trade-off of like, God, do I just want to like nuke my own bench? Which I definitely did. I a couple of times lost a match because I killed all of my bench at the same time, and they just pulled like 6 prizes at the same time. It's amazing.
Yeah. So some of the RNG in this game is crazy. Like I got a card called the Gambler. And
yes,
what was this
that card's
one?
really fun.
Oh my God.
If you flip a coin, if it's heads, you pull 7 or 8 cards or something. If it's tails, you pull 1 card. And that's after you've discarded your hand.
Yeah. You discard your hand and you either draw 8 cards or draw 1 card. Like
so
that's pretty much the game. Like if you mess that roll, that coin toss, you're toast. You're pretty much toast after that.
Yeah, which I was a few times.
You used that. You just lived in the RNG in this game, didn't you? You just let it fly.
Again, because I was playing at like 4 times speed, so I could just be like, all right, fuck it, let's try it. And then it doesn't work, I'm out of the battle in a minute or something.
I was constrained by time. I had no time for the RNG.
But it was amazing. It's really good for the situations where like I don't have any cards in my hand. So like it's not going to make this a lot worse than it already is.
I mean, that's the heart of the cards is then what's going to save you at that point.
Yes. I think this game is great. I can't believe I waited this long to play it.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed this. Maybe we should meet up and get our old Pokemon cards and actually play this game IRL, Chase.
God, can you imagine like 20 years later actually playing Pokemon for the first time? What a wild situation.
My cards are just turning to dust in my hand as I'm using them.
I can see my card collection in my closet right now. It's right there. So they're on hand.
What was your prize? Your prize card?
It is Charizard. I found a holographic Charizard at some point. Couldn't let it go. I think it's like been weathered by time, unfortunately, because I pulled it out and fucked with it. And it's also the first one in there. So it was the first to get hit with any sort of weather. Had a bunch of Venusaurs that I like too. None of them holographic, but thought that was cool.
Oh, nice.
Well, sweet. I feel like I could just kind of talk about any given strategy in this game ad infinitum, but we do have a podcast to finish here.
Yes.
I guess the last thought is just that like I mostly rolled with a grass deck. It was mostly like a Bulbasaur based deck.
Stoner over here.
Yeah, exactly. Love to grass. That one, for whatever reason, just like worked really well most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also did have, the Charmander and Friends starter deck that I mostly just removed the fire from. And that one was pretty fun too. That was mostly
you removed the fire from it. So it was...
Oh, sorry. No, the fighting.
Oh, so you had lightning and fire in there?
Just fire. It was
just fire. Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, that was a Moltres deck. It was just get Moltres out there.
Get Moltres out there.
It's
the icon of fire.
Have them do a bunch of damage, and then I would try and stagger putting my Pokemon on the bench. So like if I was doing a lot of damage to myself, at least I would be not doing it all at once. So like I would put somebody on the bench who like, okay, they have full health right now, so they'll be okay. But the Hitmonchan that I've accidentally blown up with fire 4 times is almost dead.
It's just looking at you from the bench. Father, why?
Please stop. Stop letting the Moltres burn me.
Then he turns into ash like that poor guy from the beginning of Final Fantasy 16. R.I.P.
R.I.P. Anyway, I love this game. I can't believe I've waited so long. And thank you to both Hill and Dave C for suggesting it. It's a good one.
Thank you. It was great.
Good evening, gamers. It's me, your friend, who's going to take you through the outro in... I'm speed running this one. Oh my God.
He's choking.
I'm choking. I'm frozen.
Everyone's naked, Chase. Everyone's naked.
It's somehow worse now. What is the first thing we usually say?
Talk about the website.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Okay. If you want to interact with us on the internet, go to podtimism.com. It has links to our socials and stuff, but probably more easily and accessible. It has a page where you can suggest a game. I've been seeing that people have been writing a little bit more there recently, which is really cool, but it also means that I probably need to make that text box a little bigger. I think it's just one long line. But thank you to anybody who's been sending in their thoughts. I realized that for a while we were just taking suggestions, and then we've been also asking for people's opinions about stuff. So if you feel compelled, definitely feel free to either write that in there or just email us. We got a couple of people who did that as well after they suggested something. So yeah, and thank you for whoever's been suggesting stuff. It's very cool. And we will play those games. Yeah, if you want to help out the show, a couple things you can do. One is to show it to a buddy and say, hello, I bet you might like this. And maybe they do, which would be cool. But if not, that's okay too. Or you can review it on like podcast catchers. So Spotify or Apple Podcasts or something like that. And thank you for everybody who does that. Definitely appreciate you. Scout Wilkinson, hello. Thank you.
Hello.
Hey, thank you for your work on our podcast art. It's beautiful and we love it. And it's great. I like a sunflower. If you want to support her or get some art done by her, you can go to ko-fi.com/humblegoat to check to see if her commissions are open. Also, finally, listener, thank you for listening. Thank you for engaging and participating in Podtimism. It's a practice. This is praxis, baby.
Ooh.
And yeah. Definitely appreciate you being here. Definitely feel the Podtimism love whenever people are suggesting stuff. That's always such a thrill. And yeah, we've seen kind of an uptick in suggestions. Fear not, we will get to those. But thank you to whoever's been doing that. So thank you.
Thank you to everyone.
To everyone. People of Earth, thank you for your Podtimism suggestions. Gonna throw a spirit bomb of Podtimism down.
Ooh. Yeah. Kind of what we need in this world.
There's a little bit of Goku for anybody who doesn't know. David, do you have any gaming wisdom?
I do.
Yeah.
Much like a trading card deck building game.
Yeah.
Life also gives you all of the components that you need to overcome any situation. You just got to be the one to put it together, baby.
It's true. The puzzle's always going to look different, but you're the answer.
You're the answer. You have the power.
The reason is you, David.
Pokemon's my anti-drug? Is that where we're going?
Hoobastank, actually.
Hoobastank. They played at the Borders Books in Fresno one time, and then I realized that Hoobastank was no longer a thing.
Oh my God. Send me to the nether realm for a second. The Borders Books in Fresno sounds like a place that doesn't exist in like material time.
It doesn't exist anymore. I don't think Borders exists anymore.
No, it certainly does not. But like, even when it was there, like spiritually, it's on another plane somewhere.
Yeah. It's in the spirit realm.
Yeah.
Only the Avatar can commune with Borders Books at this point.
But when we needed Hoobastank the most, they vanished.
Hoobastank is definitely Team Avatar for sure.
Me and my brother found an iceberg with a Hoobastank CD in it floating around the ocean. But I think Hoobastank can save the world.
I'm spinning out of control.
It's a good song, man. I don't know what people are
Dude, I
talking
rocked the Hoobastank album quite a bit when I was in middle school.
Me too.
Got
the
me.
reason is you, man.
That's some emo-ass music, man. But
Yeah.
it was good.
Anyway, shouts out Hoobastank, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.